Good afternoon, ladies, and welcome to our God's Beauties Book Club discussion. We are discussing Redeeming Your Time by Jordan Raynor. And we are super excited to have you all here with us this afternoon. Of course, all the way down to my right, we have Ebony Leslie here. Woohoo! And then to my immediate right, Pastor Michelle Ferguson. And then, of course, I am Anita Davis, and I am surely glad to have you guys here to talk about this. And I just listened to Pastor Michelle's little snippet of a video she put out not too long ago about this book, sort of encouraging ladies to jump on. And one thing she said that is absolutely true is that every woman needs to know how to redeem her time. And has to look at her time and how much time she has and figure out how to get it done. And not do it with stress or, falling out all over the place. But I found this book to be quite helpful with that. I thought he was very practical, but at the same time, I loved how he opened the book. Really, I don't want to jump into that, but everybody needs to know how to redeem your time and how we can be wildly productive.
And I want to say, if you haven't had a chance to read the book, I would recommend that you read it. Mm-hmm. But I'm just going to put a little disclaimer out there for everybody who might be a little bit like me. I found it to be a little overwhelming at times. Mm-hmm. I found, obviously, Mr. Raynor is very, very disciplined. And if we could just keep it real on a Saturday morning, that is not how I would describe myself. Mm-hmm. And so, but there were a couple of things that he did mention in the book along the way that I thought were helpful, and that was starting slow. Yeah. Because sometimes if you are reading something and you feel like, man, I'm not even on this dude is up on floor 32. I'm not even in the building, you know? Yeah. It can if you don't handle that right, you can just throw it all away. Yep. And that's not the way to go. It's take little steps by little steps. And of course, our actions, the things that we do are a result of what's going on in our mind. Yeah. So even the practice of reading, and some of you may have done it via audio book or what have you, is very important, because building yourself and building, what would you call it, self-discipline, mm-hmm. and learning how to better yourself is very important for you to be able to fulfill what God has for you. And I know, as a preacher of the gospel myself, we're always talking about what God can do in our lives and how he has a plan for you. And he does. He has a plan for you. He has this plan specifically for you. He put you here for a purpose and a reason. But I know I've been guilty of sometimes just saying, I received that, Lord. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait for it to fall in my lap. And over the last couple of years, I found the Lord kind of challenging me, like, this is a partnership. There are things that you have to do. And one of the things is flat out time management. Yes. Because stress is a killer. Mm-hmm. And not only does stress have negative effects on your body, but it also affects your ability to be creative. It affects your ability to have good relationships, because if you're stressed out all the time, you're probably not the funnest person to be around. Right. It affects your ability to live thankfully, as opposed to always being in a state of discouragement. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that this book was really helpful from a practical standpoint and implementing it.
Even with what you said about being creative, all of us are really creative people, but even in the music and trying to make schedules and things like that, just being able to manage my time where that's concerned. If I can get all of that out of the way, then yes, now I can be creative, because I'm not thinking about, I got to do this, I got to make this, this person has to do this, and all of that, because I get so overwhelmed in my mind before anything even hits the table. Yeah. So, if you can do that, and like you said, start slow, gradually do things, even a 10-minute increment or 20-minute increment of whatever. Okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, now I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to do, that can help. And then that can help you free the space in your mind, which you talked about too. Freeing the space in your mind so you can do other things.
I think the most important thing about this book is how he starts it. And he starts off by saying, spend time with the author of time. And I think for us, that's vitally important, because we get busy. And not only that too, but he puts time management and what we're doing in regards to everything that we're doing is for his glory. Everything that we're doing is because that's something he's called us to do. So of course he would want us to be productive in our lives. But at the same time, the root of that, the one that helps us with that, is God. And it's amazing how sometimes we do time management, but we'll keep God out of our plan in efforts to glorify him. But it doesn't work that way. We actually have to go to him first, spend time with him, and he'll actually help us to be productive. So I love how he started off and rooted everything. And the way that you spend your time needs to glorify God. The way you manage your time, how productive you are. It's all about doing more for his kingdom. Whether it's, picking out clothes for your kids, for me, that's something, or figuring out a schedule for dinner, or even planning out, a big event here at the church. It's all to glorify God. And spending time with the one that created time is very, very important. I love how he started that off. I thought that was very important.
And I love how he says, fine, that is the most important thing you can do. Of all of your to-do lists, spending time in the Word and spending time with God is key. And I love how he said, particularly towards the end of the book, even when he was wrapping up the book, he was very succinct in making sure that he said that's the most important thing on your to-do list. Yeah. And he said to pick a time where you can be most consistent. Yeah. And again, it's not about, and the Lord started speaking to me about this a while ago, it's not as much about how much time as it is how consistent that time is. And in this case, and for a lot of people, not for everyone, I love that he also addressed the people who are biologically built a little bit differently. And maybe you're a night owl. But I know I would agree with him is that I find that first thing in the morning is the most consistent time for me, because I can set especially with a small child, I can set. It might mean I'm up with the birds, but because I would consider myself a night owl, and have been my entire life. But like I said in the last, you were okay.
Always have been.
Always. Yes, I have been. Yes, I have been. Yes, we went to high school together, college together, Bible school together. Okay, yes. So, but let me just encourage all those night owls out there as well. Is that in the last, I would say 3 years, the Lord has really challenged me about that, because the power is in my hands. And I did find that I'm sharpest in the morning, and that's the one time I can guarantee that I'm going to have solid time. I just know I need to wake up ahead of everybody else for ever how much time. And I started really small with the amount of time and giving that time to the Lord. Yeah. And even if you're like, okay, I woke up and I'm sitting here and I don't know what to say, Lord, let me read this little chapter, and it's just feeling awkward. Keep going.
Very important.
Keep going. Yes. The enemy is going to fight this, because this is a key to your life. Yes. Period. Regardless of what you're going through, God is always the answer. And you want to get to the place where you create the habit of doing it. There are times where I'll oversleep or I don't do it, and I just feel that whole day where I'm like, oh, I'm missing you, Lord. And then sometimes when I say that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm spiritual. I'm missing the Lord. Like, because there was a time where I wasn't doing that. I was that Sunday and Wednesday night person, like whatever the preacher talked about, yay and amen, and whatever I heard and retained, that's what I had for the whole week. Yep. But he's been able to develop me. And interestingly enough, there have been more opportunities that have come my way, and I've been able to accomplish more in the last 3 years, and I probably had the 10 years before I had gotten into that. So I think that's awesome. Great that he started with that, and that you need to start with the Word. I love that he really compared managing your time to like managing your money. Like we all agree that having a budget is important. Yes. All it is telling your money where to go. But I loved how he said you need to do that with your time. Yes. And again, my initial flesh response was, but he's right. Yeah. Just kind of saying, I'm going to do this. It's almost kind of like setting your clothes out the night before. Yes. I'm still working on that, but but I saw it was important. Yes. Because, it started when I started thinking about redeeming my time and making the most of my time. And this is a gift. Every moment you breathe is a gift from God. Yes. And so doing what I need to do ahead of time to use that time wisely, it just kind of shifted the way I look at, some of the things that I do.
I want to read this quote that he put. It's the beginning of chapter 1, where he says, start with the Word. He says, to redeem our time in the model of our Redeemer, we must first know the author of time, his purpose for the world, and what he has called us to do with the time he has given us. And I think even if we take that day by day, Lord, what is it that you want me to do with today? You get what I mean? What today are my priorities? And it's really sort of aligning ourselves, because if we align ourselves with his will for us, even in the today, we know that he's going to back that up. And I know a lot of times, even when I have those moments where I'm like, okay, Lord, there's a lot going on. What do I need to do? He'll make it so clear for me what I need to do, where the night before it was all jumbled up, but it's very clear and it's succinct and it's just, hey, do this, and it all falls into place. So it's wonderful how if you spend it with the one who created time, the one that created you, the one that has a will for you, he actually will help you be productive and has the best plan for your productivity in every area, not just work, not just home, your hobbies, your desires. He'll make it to where it all fits together. And I thought that was beautiful.
And it's not always obvious.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when you're just real younger in the things of the Lord, you're looking for this obvious, oh, I heard the Lord say to me, do X, Y, Z. And if you don't have that, then you could easily feel like it's not working or you being too deep. Yeah. This is why again, he's talking about here self-discipline. It's really setting the habit. So even if you're like me, I'm kind of taking one step at a time. Let me get this principle, and sometimes the Lord will even lead you. One of them will stand out to you more than others. Well, that's God, because he wants to be a part. He doesn't want to be this event outside of you.
Right.
Oh, we're going to church, here's an event and this is my time with God. He wants to be, he lives inside you because he wants to be a part of your day and a part of everything that you do. And there's just a peace that comes with that. So there may be some people it's highlighted over here, and there may be some other people it's highlighted over there, but all of those things are God working together for them that love, all those things. Yeah. For those of us who would love him, are called according to his purpose and are seeking his face, which if you're up here on a Saturday and you're logged in, I dare say you're one of those people.
You're one of them people.
Right. You one of them people.
That's what to be me.
Yes, I like that. And he also goes further, not just with putting the word first, but prayer as well. And I think that's important. And for me, I'll just be honest in that Sister Kay says it all the time, and of course Bishop says, but prayer is just talking to God. It's communicating with him. And don't leave that morning time like, boom, I spent my time with God, now I'm moving on. He comes with you, and I think that's so wonderful that he comes with us. There are so many times in my day where I hit what looks like a roadblock. I don't know what to do, and I have to literally stop and say, okay, Lord, what do I do next? What's the plan? How do I get through this? What's the answer? What's the solution? What's my priority? Because it seems like even in the middle of the day, everything sort of comes at you, especially working, and you got like 5 meetings, and it's like you got 50 assignments, and it's like I have no idea which one to do.
You got to go home and have food for the kids and the husband.
Yes, you do. They got projects. Let me tell you something. Anyway, so all of that, I could have went on a whole rant on that, but it's wonderful to know. In those times, we can sit, have a moment, and talk. And I'll give an example of this. We had the Mother's Day event here on Saturday, which was wonderful. But we ran into a problem logistically with how to do it. And, I'm sitting there, and I got the volunteers here. They're helping, and I don't know how to fix this problem. And it was a little too much at the time. So I actually had to walk away. I just said, give me a minute. Yeah. And I walked away. And I'm walking to go to a different kitchen, and I just had that conversation with God. All right, Lord, what do I do? Yeah. How do I fix this? And just boom, boom, boom. He just gives you the answer to it. And you sort of have to, and I don't want to jump, but he has that in here where he talks about having that alone time where you separate yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that part. We'll get there. I don't know if we jump all the time, but anyway, but just that moment of quiet in a hallway at my job. Lord, what do I do? And he just gave the answer, and I just thank him. He will always show up in those moments.
Yeah.
Definitely. Love it.
I think one of the things that I think I heard someone say probably over 10 years ago that I loved was when you are starting your prayer, and even if you are blitzing in the morning, you overslept and you're in the shower, even if you've got 30 seconds to acknowledge the Lord and just praise him, it's always a great place to start, is just to give thanks.
Yeah.
That's communication with God. That's prayer.
Yes, it is.
There's always something to be thankful for, and that's a good practice in the first place of
Yep.
finding things to be thankful for, including if it's that your water is working in your shower.
Come on.
Or that it's warming up, or that you have soap, or, that's a good practice. But one of the things that I have really implemented into my life since I heard it was, don't close the prayer. So let's say you don't close it. Just say, well, thank you, Lord, for this moment. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so anytime during the day,
Yeah.
That's like that God consciousness. I'm continuing in this prayer. I think it was Smith Wigglesworth that said, I don't pray longer than 5 minutes, but I also don't go in the Holy Ghost, but I also don't pray more. I also don't go 5 minutes without praying.
Yep.
Just kind of having it as part of your day, because
Yes.
God cares about the details.
Yes, he does.
He loves women, and he cares. I mean, I would have ditched us after Eve's debacle, but he saw fit to continue to use us and make us such a wonderful part of his master plan. But
Yes.
but yeah, I think that's really, really key. I kind of want to just go with the flow and jump to the jump where you jumped, because this is the part of the book where I made my husband, like, I actually got the audiobook and made him listen to this part about taking breaks.
Yes.
Whew. Say it again.
I thought this was so key. And again, you need to read the book, because he does go through 7 points, and I can see we may not get to all 7, but we're just going to flow where
Yes.
it's better. But he talked about the importance, especially when you're finding yourself in an issue or dealing with stress, or you're just feeling overwhelmed, to just walk away and take a break.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so creative, how he talked about, even scientific studies have really kind of agreed that that human beings weren't created like computers. Computer will just chug out work
Correct.
all day, every day.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Where the human being is more kind of ups and downs. So even when he was talking about, even when you're in your focus time and productivity, where you have your deep focus, where you have that time where you're working and this is all you're doing, he's talking about that on average, most people can't do that more than 4 hours a day. And that, I mean, that blew my mind when he said that, because I was that person that once I start working, I'm at the computer and I'm there from the morning until the late afternoon, and I'm only getting up for bathroom breaks, or maybe I'm eating lunch, or I'm eating lunch at my desk, which is not good, because that's mindless eating. And oh my gosh, I don't know what I ate. I was just eating to get through it. But when he talked about that, I thought that was important, and how every 90 minutes you need to take a break.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really important. And then, well, I'm going to throw it out here, and you can address the holes in the middle of it, because I realize I'm jumping. The sleep thing.
Lord. Deprivation.
Bro. He said schedule being in the bed for 9 hours. I was like,
How we gonna do that? Yes.
Where at?
I go to bed
Yes.
at 8:30.
Yes.
But literally, the amount of people who God gave significant information or creations or problem solving in their sleep, and how that is a part of how we're made, was life changing for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop there, because I could just keep going.
Yeah, and for you, the biggest thing for me, even in here, where he talks about, the whole chapter is called Descent from the Kingdom of Noise.
Yeah.
And I like that, and he comes at it from a lot of different ways, and I'm scatterbrained right now because there's so many places I want to go. But the first one, I'll say again, is him talking about going away. Let me see if I can find the quote that he said. Yeah, okay. So this is where he talks about Jesus, and I love how he always looks back. How did Jesus handle this? What did Jesus do? And he says in here, when Jesus always went away and he separated himself, and he talked about how people can talk about, ooh, poor Jesus. And he says, can his disciples step up and give their friends some company? He says, but I hope you're beginning to see that lonely places, and I'll say alone places, aren't places of weakness. They are places of great strength.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we can run, that we don't have those moments of solitude, those moments where it's just you and God, where you can refresh and re-energize yourself. That's what you're doing in the mornings.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing in other places. And this really resonated with me this last weekend, Thursday and Friday. My son had his 5th grade Northern experience trip, where we went up north a little bit. Let me tell you something. And I was telling, a lot going on and I just needed a moment, right? For me, it's me and water. I don't know what it is for you guys. She's tried to help me swim. It hasn't taken over many, many years. But me just sitting there in water or just watching it just really helped. So anyway, so I'm asking God, God, I just really need. And it's funny how in this moment where I'm thinking I'm going to be running and doing these kids, he takes me here, this Lake Michigan spot, and the kids are walking on the beach, and I'm just sitting there, and a couple times I just breathed in and breathed out. And just breathed in
I know it was
and
great.
breathed out. They took me on a hike where I thought I was about to pass out. They did. They took us on this hike. I thought for sure it was, with your chest and your legs. Anyway, and up this mountain, they literally cut away some trees so you could see the view. And it was beautiful. And just having these moments just really re-energized me. And it wasn't it wasn't as if I was really like alone, because you got all these kids, but it was purposefully getting in tune with you and God and his creation and knowing that stuff is way bigger than the things I got going on, and that the creator of all of this has got my back. And in those moments is when I really found some peace on this 5th grade trip up north, looking at Lake Michigan.
That's what's up.
It is what's up, isn't it?
That's amazing. Yeah, it's important to schedule that alone time, schedule that time of solitude, because if not, you're just naturally are going to go crazy. Because you just keep going. I have a senior. My son is a senior this year. He's graduated.
I know. I feel
I'm
so
sorry.
old.
Listen.
That is too much for
Let's
me.
not talk about that.
Okay. Well,
Little Roman.
He's so cute too. Little Roman ain't Little Roman no
He
more.
sure is
no,
not.
he's very much
He's
a man. But anyway, getting back to, so yeah, and like dealing with all of his senior things this year, senior prom, the graduation, the parties, the this, the that.
Yep.
It's like I could, because I'm good with scheduling and I'm good with doing all of that. I'm not so good with taking a step back and just breathe until I'm forced to do it. And that's what you don't want to happen. You don't want to be forced to have to breathe, like, somewhere in a hospital or something like that. But, you have to, it's so important to take those times to yourself, especially as women, because we multitask. We carry the weight of the world on our shoulder. We can do everything. We can do anything, independent women. No, you need to step back and breathe for a second. Even if you take 5 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to do it. It's so important for yourself, for your physical health. God created the world and still rested.
Yeah, it is.
So how much more so should we?
Yeah,
should we be rested? That speaks volumes to me.
Yeah. But there's the one part he has in here, one of the points he has is get comfortable with the crevices of your day.
Woo.
Right.
And this is when you
'Cause
say
we
even,
pulse.
yes,
Yes, we
even he
pulse.
said these 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we cram it with something, social media,
Right,
our phone,
right.
and we fill it with stuff because we
Right.
feel like we have to keep busy.
We're trying
Which
to
he
eat and
talks
still
about
do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he talks about get comfortable with those moments between things where you could just sit and be okay. All
Yeah.
right, what, Lord, just have a moment,
Yeah.
have some quiet. Go walk.
Go for a walk. Get up, walk around
Yeah.
your office.
Walk around your office. Or,
He said do some dishes and some laundry. I was like,
You sure about
no,
that?
but he's right.
yes, yes, but in those moments, you really have, that is redeeming your time.
Yes.
That is getting some of your time back.
Yes.
And I want to talk about something I had to actually, I'm not really big on social media in the first place, but I had Instagram on my phone. And I had to delete Instagram because he talks about stuff with endless content.
Yes.
And it just keeps going, keeps going, and keeps going. And it really does feed
Jesus.
off of this desire to see, okay, what's next? Oh, yeah.
What's next?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Is there something funny?
Addiction.
Yes. What, I don't want to miss this. And it can suck up so much of your time.
Yes, it can.
So I really love these practical things that he's sharing about it. And like he says in here, one of them is take a walk. And here's another one, parent your phone. and I'm gonna be
I got
honest.
conviction all over me. That's why
Right?
I'm quiet.
Like-
I'm gonna be. I struggle with that, and I really, I got to get a grip on that, because I'll be
Yeah.
laying in my bed and, let me check and see,
Playing a
I'll check
game.
an email,
Lord.
I'll play a game,
It's games for me.
I'll see, okay, what happened to this person? I heard, just shut that off and just be okay not connecting to everything all at once.
Just a practical thing. I had to set the what is it, do not disturbs and all that stuff.
Ooh,
So,
you use that.
yeah.
I do
I'm,
too.
I'm
That
almost
helps.
mad at myself
Yeah.
for it's like I'm a kid. Like, no, I want to use my phone. But it helped me. And I didn't do it like for long periods of time. It's like from maybe 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's on do not. So I'm not getting any calls. I'm not getting any texts. I'm not getting any Instagram notifications. I turned off my Instagram notifications at a certain time because if not, you'll just get stuck in
Yeah.
that cycle.
Yeah, he says get out of stop swimming in infinity pools.
That's what he called it.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
he even talked about that with the 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah.
And the thing
Yes.
is, you can keep getting caught up in it, and make no mistake about it, people are going to be as creative as possible to keep your attention.
Yes.
They are.
But there is a point where you just have to turn it off, because it's not like these are even leaving great things for you.
No.
I mean, how many times do you truly get off of like a full dump on social media, just
Yep.
going through just story after story, TikTok, just watching, feeling good about yourself
No.
or about your mission, or even thinking about that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fulfillment doesn't come from watching other people live their lives.
No.
Fulfillment comes by you living a life that Jesus died to give you.
Yes. Yes.
You can't do that if you spend all your time watching other people live their
Listen
dreams
here.
and never accomplish yours.
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
You
That,
say-
that
you-
man,
that'll
that was
preach.
good.
That
That just
Lord.
came out.
Shoot,
Woo.
I know that's right.
That's all it got.
No, but it goes back to how he compared it to Jesus. And when we were talking about the alone time, he talks about in Luke 4:14 that Jesus returned from the wilderness in the power of the Spirit.
Yeah.
So it's such a difference between the drain that social media or other things can suck your time, binge watching a whole season worth of something. And now I can get aggravated if they try and give you one episode at a time. That's
Me
another
too.
story.
I have to wait.
Yeah,
have
I
to wait.
do.
I'm
Me
gonna
too.
watch the
Okay,
whole
anyway.
season.
So even with that, the comparison to walking away in the power of the Holy Spirit, you have opportunities to walk away and to gain and to connect with the power of the Holy Spirit in your life.
Yeah.
Regarding the situations and circumstances that we're dealing with. And sometimes we so easily trade them for moments on our phone or getting
Yeah.
to the next level
Yeah,
in that game
entertainment.
of
Yep.
yes.
Which means zero thought.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And I
Lord.
love that. I think he kind of referred to it once too. And it's definitely one of my favorite passages in Matthew 14 in terms of, I've been preaching it for so long, probably will forever, was even when Jesus was going through extreme grief,
Yeah.
dealing with that battle with grief after
Yeah.
John the Baptist, his cousin, was beheaded. He got in a boat apart to pray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to really just deal with him and God and taking that time. And sometimes when you're going through things in life, it's okay to just take the time you need to deal with it.
True.
Yes.
Just being like, I don't have any issues, thinking that that's faith, that's not true. Even
No.
Jesus took time. And I love how he broke that through the story. He kind of, through the book, just kind of
Yes.
going back to Jesus. Because I never thought about Jesus having to manage his time. He was here
Yep.
to accomplish the greatest task. He only
Greatest
had 3
calling.
years where he
Yes,
was
he
walking in
did.
that particular part of the calling. You know what I mean? Went from
Yep.
30 to 33. So, I mean, just him even managing that.
Yeah.
And then even in that story, how Jesus was able to get out of that space. Because sometimes if you can get in that space, sometimes it's hard to get back out. You
Yes,
get
it is.
recharged. You're like, I don't want to deal with these stupid people no more. I'm going to stay right here forever. But Jesus got out of that boat.
Yes, he did.
Looking right again back at his purpose.
Yep.
When he
Yeah.
saw the people had a need, and that's what he was
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
So I definitely thought that was something that was really good. And also not just social media and not just your emails and
Yep.
not just television and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying those things are bad, but you need to
There's a
schedule
place.
them. There's
Yes.
time.
Yes.
They should not be the dominant part of your
No.
day. I think the studies
Correct.
show the average person spends 4 hours a day
Yep.
on social media.
Dear Lord.
You know what I'm saying? If you really think
Dear
about that, that's
Lord.
28 hours. That's a full day every week
Yes.
that you're giving over a full day while you're crying for more time. But I love too how he even talked about and really kind of broke down in the book, responding to friends, family,
Yep.
and coworkers, text messages, people pulling on you from left and right. Because I don't know about you, I sort of sometimes I deal with people pleasing, and that's one of the things I have to stay on top of. And one of the things that stresses me out more is feeling like I have to respond to people. I'm apologizing all the time. I'm sorry. I know you texted me like 3 days ago, but I forgot. Because then when I was doing this, text came in, and and then sometimes my husband's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, I got to respond to them. I got to do this. Just kind of just all over the map.
Yeah.
And again, I'm jumping to another part of the book, but
okay.
it kind of pulls off of like his number 2 tip. Let your yes be yes. But I'm going to flip that and go learning how to say no.
Yes.
And being comfortable with being misunderstood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because, I've been a preacher's kid all my life. And so if I'm not smiling, I guess I look intimidating or mean. That's what people say.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Like, I'm just not smiling right now. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not upset. I'm just
this
not
is my
smiling.
regular face.
And so,
this
for me, I would spend so much time trying to, trying to have this pageant or just trying to prove to somebody that I'm not this stuck up. I don't think I'm better than you because so-and-so's my dad or none of that. And all of that is just the enemy.
Yep.
Using distractions to take away your time instead of teaching you to redeem the time and to do well with the time that you have. So even he gives some and he talks about his website a lot, jordanraynor.com/ RYT, Redeem Your Time, where he has all these practical tools and workshops and work sheets and things that you can help. But he actually gives good examples of how he responds to people, or when he's going to shut off. I'm going to take this time. I'm not going to respond to text, X, Y, Z. He talks about all of that. And it was really practical. I think that is hugely important.
Yes, it is.
Especially, I know one of the things when he was talking about that, I was like, there's no way I can ever not have my phone on. I have, I have people. I have a husband that's gonna call me whenever he wants, and I want that. My child, if my child's not with me, his schooling and all that. But he even talks about how to manage that.
Yep.
But
in the time that we live in, it's funny how not only do we want our food and stuff now, but we want access to other people right now.
True.
You know what I mean? And back in the day, you couldn't reach, if they was on a drive, you couldn't reach them till they stopped driving and they got off the road. You
Everybody
get what I'm
didn't
saying?
have cell phones.
So it's
pagers.
so it's actually, in some ways it's beneficial, but in other ways it has hurt us tremendously to allow people to have access to us all the time, whenever they are ready. And you're right, even apologizing after a day of not, and you could be doing something and I didn't get to, I'm sorry, but I get you on that. There's a certain there's walking in love. If it's done in love, with the heart of love, then let that go and let their issue be between them and God. Do you get what I mean? And that's really, I cannot manage. I do what I can. That's where walking in love is. But beyond that, I cannot manage your perception of me. That is
Nor
what
should
it
you
is.
try or carry it as a burden.
Or carry it as a burden.
That is sin.
Yes.
And the reason why it is sin is because it's breaking down your body. It's breaking down your purpose. It's breaking down your self-esteem. It's breaking down everything that you have to do with and manage what you have been blessed and what you have been given with. And I want to say this too. I think even when you're trying to build a business and trying to all of these different sorts of things, you got to be careful, because now on social media, I don't know if you know this because I know you don't be on social media very much. If you respond to a message to somebody and they become a friend, they can call you through social media.
Yes, they can.
And people will start messaging you like you don't even have to have my cell phone number. People message me. There's some people that send me like 7-8 messages a day.
They can video chat you through Instagram.
Wow.
And then if I see them, they're like, I'm sorry, I've been messaging you, and I don't look at them for the most part, or I have help managing myself, managing that kind of stuff, because you just got to say no.
Yes.
And sometimes there be some people that are like, well, you need to respond to every single person because they could be a brand ambassador for you. They can help your brand and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, they can also put me in a grave. And that's not God's will for my life either. And yes, there are practices and things you want to do and you want to be a blessing. And I love how he breaks down in the book how to say no and how to disseminate what is yes and what is no and where does it fits in your life. But more importantly than that, it's the whole people-pleasing aspect. It's like you have to be okay with being misunderstood by certain people. And I mean, that just comes, if you can't do that, then it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It's almost like we've gotten really good at treating the symptom, but not the root. Like
Yeah.
you'll see that with a headache. A person that has a headache repeatedly over and over again, they just keep taking pills for that headache, only to find out later on that they were anemic, or there were other things they could do, or there was another issue that needed to be addressed. That and you have to do that with when it comes to just the feeling like you just can't say no to somebody. Because that is a symptom of something on the inside of you feeling like somebody else has to hold you in a certain regard for you to sit in peace. Now, if you can be really honest with yourself, everybody has problems. There's some people who can't admit anything negative about themselves because the only thing they've ever heard is negativity, and they don't want to don't want to agree with the people who hurt them. But, let them folks go. It's time to go to another level. It's getting back to that root of understanding. And that comes with that number one thing, starting with the word and starting with prayer, because God will weave in your day things. Some of the biggest changes God's made in my life, they were not obvious. They weren't these huge moments with these huge flags. They were just little by little. Somebody said this, a post came across, or something like that, that will help you rebuild that. But learning when it's okay to say no. And we all have people in our lives who are very touchy. And we all have people in our lives who are very sensitive. And, praise God, doesn't mean you have to eliminate them out of your life, but maybe you schedule the time to sit and write something to them that explains to you. Like Jordan gave a lot of examples where this is a text I would send to a family member. This is a text I would send to a boss. I thought he was very helpful. I was like, he really fooling in this book. When he was like, that's what you say to your boss when you like, I can meet with you now if that's what you'd like. Or I just hit a groove with the other assignment that you've done, and I'm in a deep. I'm getting a lot done. I can stop that and break that and come meet with you now, or I can finish what I'm doing and come at 1:00.
But it's given them
Now the option is on you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And they may say go, or it was very good.
And putting these practices in place take time. And you're like, I came here trying to figure out how to get more time. But with anything, everything is seed time and harvest. Doing the things that's necessary to put these things in practice is not fun, and it is not sexy.
No.
At all. But boy,
reap a great reward.
It's important to remember that, because if not, you will be overwhelmed. You build an anxiety just trying to schedule your life.
I just got finished reading that. We're not talking about this book, but I just got finished rereading the Dave Ramsey book. And I love how he says, live today like nobody else does. And he's talking about budgeting and all that stuff. He was like, if you live today like no one else does, then later on you will live like no one else can. And that's the same thing. That's that principle. That's just seed time and harvest.
Yes, it is.
The seed and the seed time is not sexy, but the harvest makes it all worth it.
Yes, it does.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that kind of goes, I'm going to jump to his second point. I know we kind of jumped the other way, but he's talking about let your yes be yes. And he's talking about finding something, some tool that works for you. I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to hush because I feel like I've been dominating for the last 30 minutes. Okay. But when he said, and I had heard this from Terry Savelle Foy, and it blew my mind. He said those open-ended loops.
We talked about, Yep.
He said, write it down.
Yes.
It is so true. I started doing that before I got to this book. And I just got me a little app. And I was just anytime a to-do came up, and if it was dumb, like fold the drawers. I mean, I put it in there, everything. And it's true. When you get it out of your mind, now it's not rolling around. As opposed to just these things popping up in your mind, and all these other things you forgot, and that just makes you feel bogged down, and things that you forget, and all of those different sorts of things.
I'm gonna give a little funny story about this, because before this, that was something that I got into in regards to writing it down, right? And sometimes even in my day, if I'm really busy, the busier I am, the more important it is for me to even take time to just write down what I got to do. Just write it down. I'll end and I'll be like, "Ooh, yeah, all right, I had a good day." They'd be like, "Did you get any work done?" "Nope, I just wrote down the work I needed to get done." And but I'll be happy because now it's out of my head. The stress is gone, right? And sometimes, so this one time, I had to get up here and do the welcome.
Ooh, praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Oh, I hate doing the welcome.
Yep.
That's why I never do
Praise
it.
the Lord.
Right.
I had to do the welcome, and here comes somebody with a tongue. So I knew, okay, I'm gonna have to do the
Yeah,
interpretation of this.
interpretation.
And I said in my head, 1 Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 12 and 14, edification, exhortation, and comfort. I said that just so I
Yep.
remember. But then when it came time to say it at the end, I drew a blank. And then I just said, in
happens.
1 Corinthians, I looked over at Bishop. I said, I can't bring this up for nothing. I said, the Bible says that this is for your exhortation,
Yes.
invitation, and comfort. So then when I got off the stage, I was like, oh my God, I don't know what happened. I said it in my brain, and one of Jasmine, somebody who is been working with Pastor McClintock, soon to be gone, bless her. She said, well, when you said it in your head, you let go.
You let it go. Ooh.
You did it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, you're right. But because I tried,
Right.
as soon as I recalled it, I let it go. Now again, that
Yeah.
practice bit me in the butt. But I understood the principle.
Principle of it. Yeah.
I understood the principle of it.
Yeah.
And if you just get it down, you're able to let the stress of it go.
Correct.
And then the other part of it too that I like about that is you also let the fear of stuff go. When you actually sit there and write it down, figure out what is it that you have to do. Because a lot of what the devil does is he feeds off of unfinished work and making you feel as though it's bigger than it is. It's large. You'll never get to it. You'll never finish it. It's going to end up horrible.
You're such
Yeah.
a mess.
Yeah,
You're
you're
such
such
a
a
shovel.
and sometimes you have to diffuse that
Yes.
by simply writing it down,
Yeah.
making a plan, and even like Dave Ramsey said, write your debts down. That's even the same thing.
Yeah.
Of make it clear what it is I have to accomplish, what it is I need to do, and you diffuse all of that, and
Don't
that
be
is
afraid
very
to do
big.
that. Don't be afraid
Yes,
to do that.
and doing that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because he also talked about the fact that you have to reorganize that day after day, reprioritize that. And when you're spending the time with God in the morning and
Yeah.
following him throughout the day, he'll help you sort of bring all that to pass. But
Back to
that's awesome.
what Pastor Michelle said earlier, it's a partnership with God. It's not like, okay, Lord, I'm doing all this and go ahead and drop it in my lap. No, there's some things that you need to do too. And if you don't write it down, if you don't get it out, are you saying, well, Lord, I don't trust you to help me with this?
Yeah.
Are you saying, Lord, you're not big enough, really, how I say you are, to really help me get through this? Are you saying, I'm really afraid if I write down all my debts, or I'm afraid if I write down my whole to-do list that I'm not going to get it done, or I'm not going to pay No.
That's the enemy.
So you can't allow fear. That's big for me.
And
you can't allow fear to
and
to
I
dictate
think
that.
for those who might be feeling a little overwhelmed, I'm just not this type of person. Neither am I.
I'm not
I
either.
wasn't. And let me just encourage you, when I tell you I'm creative, I fly by the seat of my pants for fun.
Yes. No, for
Like,
real.
I just feel like being planned is
For
boring.
real.
Like, I am not trying to be this person. Let me give me a pocket protector and some glasses. Like, that's how I was like, I used to kind of feel that way.
Yeah.
But now it's like so freeing.
It
Because
is.
this is a great place to start, of just getting used to the practice of putting your to-dos into one place.
True.
Pick something.
True.
Yeah.
I think he said he uses OmniFocus as an app,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
a platform.
Figure
I
it out,
use
yeah.
right, figure it out. There's
Whatever
there are
works.
tons of them. Try a
Yes.
few.
Yeah.
But just get used to writing it down. Nowadays, you can some of these apps you can do a voice memo to your to-do list. You can just
Correct.
touch
Yes.
your phone and
Yes.
or hey
Yes.
Siri,
Yes.
remind me
Yes.
to, and it gets in there. And that's a great place to start. That's a great place to start.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
putting it down. And again, don't be like when you get to the end of the day, like I know when I first started doing this, it was like 64. I was like, and I used that as a moment to be like, see, I'm just doing to my poor husband. Can you just make your own food today? Because I got
Look at all
37 other things to do, and I'm listening for him.
Yeah.
That's not the purpose of it. But the thing is, it starts there.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Because then when you start to write it down, and again, whenever you're making a change, it's a good thing to do it in chunks,
Yes.
as opposed to trying to swallow the whole thing. Because
Yeah.
one of the
You
things he
preaching to
says is
me.
maintain your commitment tracking system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's get it, and
Yeah.
then you can maintain it. Something that you
Yes.
need to do, but sometimes that's easier to do in chunks. But getting to write your tasks down, and then you'll start to be able to see when you're getting used to them. You're getting after you've done it for a couple of weeks. and you're used to seeing the same tasks, you can set them that they repeat or what have you. And again, you
Right.
might have to set aside time to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Or if I'm not technical, I don't play with them apps, I don't like them phones, the privacy, and
Paper still
okay,
works.
go Franklin Covey.
Yeah.
Man, get yourself. I mean,
It
go in
still
there.
works.
You can build you something,
Sure
make you
can.
something
I'm
nice,
a
carry
paper
something.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever it
that's
is that you like to
fine.
do. Like I don't
Yeah.
like electronics. Like I still preach from
Off
a
of
piece of paper, like a Xerox sheet of paper, and I write and highlight. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I
Yes.
don't even type it.
Yeah.
But whatever it works for you.
Yes, that's
You know what I
very
mean?
important.
Figuring out what works for you, and not
Yeah.
in comparison to somebody else.
Not
you don't
at
have
all.
to. If you blitzing somebody else for how they do it,
Yes.
again, it's just another distraction.
Yes, it is.
That's keeping you from where you want to be, where God has called you to be, because you're focusing on stuff and wasting time.
Yes.
That doesn't
Yeah.
matter. And then once you've got your to-do list, you get used to seeing it, then you'll say, okay, these are repetitives. Okay, this is where I need to go here. This is where I need to kind of,
Yeah.
go there. And I think that's really, really important, choosing that one system. Because I know I used to have like 5 or 6 different
Yep.
to-dos on there, like to-do apps. And I'm like, I'm in here, over here, and then I'm in Todoist over
Nah.
here, and then I'm in Evernote over here. And,
That'll
and
mess
all
you up
these
too.
Yeah. Lord.
One of the biggest things that helped me is my life is my life, whether it's work related or home. And that's helped me a lot in the fact that the calling that God has placed on my life is to do the job I have here, but it's also to raise my kids, right? And to be
Yes.
there for my husband.
Yes.
It's all a calling. It's all what I'm supposed to do. So what messed me up a lot is I would try and split the two. And then it'd be 2 different calendars.
Yeah.
And then I'd mess up putting something on this calendar that I didn't know over here, and it'd just jam my whole world up. When really it's all my life. That helped me in and of itself as well. And then with my sister is she'll put it on her phone, on her phone. Nope, I gotta write it in my calendar. If for
Yeah.
some reason, I that's just for me. So don't feel any kind of way. Just know what is productive for you
Right.
and stick to it.
What
If it
works for you.
changes, if it moves, so be it. But the point is for you to be productive. For me,
Yes.
I got to write it down on a piece of paper. Sometimes doing it on my phone just doesn't do. So I write it down on a piece of paper. But whatever that is, you just have to do that. And then one quote he says, and I'll read this. This is for his principle, let your yes be yes, to redeem our time in the model of our Redeemer. And I love how he keeps saying that, in the model of our Redeemer. We must ensure that our yes is yes from the smallest to the biggest commitments we make.
Yeah.
And I think that is very important as well. And even from that, it really helped me to understand, again, like we discussed, perhaps I'm saying yes too much because I can't manage all that. I need to sort of come down on that. And if it's a maybe, and then don't give out so many maybes, because that was the other ditch I got into. It was, okay, I'm not going to say yes, I'll say maybe, and then I never came back and said yes or no, and then it just blew up. So all the time, just no. If it's a maybe, it's a no. And if I can come back and say yes,
later.
I'll do
That's
that.
okay. Yeah.
But being able to do that, write that stuff down, make that commitment, because for me, one of the worst feelings I have is if when I make a commitment and I don't show up. And that's happened to me a couple times where either it's a meeting I set or it's a lunch engagement I set and I forget about it and the person's calling me from the restaurant. When you go get here? And I'm looking like,
Didn't know I was supposed to be there.
35 minutes.
order an appetizer, I'll be there. But it's the worst feeling.
And you add stress on yourself because now you
Yes.
feel bad, and now you're
Yes.
carrying that all day, or
Yep.
It's
Now-
ju- it's just
yes,
too
then you gotta
much.
let it
It's
go.
too
and
much.
And
it's-
that's really his point 4.
Yeah.
Was prioritize your yeses. And
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing and that I loved about this one, and I'll just say, because we've kind of been all over the book the whole time,
Yes,
and
we
again,
have.
it's worth
Read
reading.
it.
Yes, it is.
But he said, accept your mission.
Yes.
And I think sometimes just sitting
Yes.
down and saying, Lord, what I'm supposed to do. And I just want to
Yep.
say this, and then I'm going to try and jump because I know we only have 12 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
But is stop looking down on your mission.
Very good.
We as humans categorize importance.
Yes.
And you may be like, well, I don't do nothing but stay at home mom. That's the most important job.
Yes, it is.
The first thing God told us to do was to be fruitful and multiply. Being fruitful doesn't just mean popping out kids or having kids. It's you're raising another world shaker,
Right.
somebody made in the image and likeness of God. That's important.
Yeah.
You still have your to-dos and your missions and things, and God may still be birthing things on the inside of you. So accept your mission and prioritize. And when you know that and what you're supposed to be doing in this season, because Satan will always bring people that want to look down on you. Oh, well, if my husband made enough money for me to work from home, I wouldn't have forgotten that. Okay, that's not
Right.
the Lord.
That's
That is not the Lord.
Exactly.
Like, let them keep it.
No.
The fact that they have to say that represents an insecurity. Just pray for them and keep it moving. Don't even get involved in that conversation. Redeem your time.
Yes.
And don't waste it with that. But I think the next point I thought was really interesting in chapter 5. He says, accept your unipresence. I thought this was great
Yes.
because he's saying you're not omnipresent like God.
No.
You cannot be everywhere at one
can't.
time.
Deal with it.
thought
Even though we
that-
think we can.
Yes. Just and that he kind of went to, again, just making sure that I can't be present online all the time. I can't be
Right.
present in email all the time. I can't be present here or
No.
there.
Yeah.
Of just really recognizing, hey, I only have a certain amount of time,
Yep.
and I get to prioritize who gets what, when, where, and
Yes.
how. And again, none of this has to be etched in stone. Like, oh my gosh, here's my plan.
Yep.
I mean, and, oh, I missed it today. Oh
Yeah.
Lord, I'm just a
Yeah.
horrible person. No, not
Yeah.
at all. I
Right.
mean, we're all flexible. We're all fluid. We all move in ebbs and flows, and there are different seasons in lives. And this is one of the reasons why he says to maintain it.
Yeah.
And he
Yes.
talks about every night
Yeah.
setting aside 10 to 15 minutes to just review your day, review your goals, and just
Yes.
review if what you have planned to do tomorrow is still going to work. It's
Yeah.
still going to fit.
That's good.
I like the next one, chapter 7, where he goes into eliminate all hurry. And that's where the whole one of the it's very practical. You touched on it. Is picking out your clothes the night before. When I say that will tank my day in a heartbeat, I mean it. I mean it will take
mean
my
it.
whole day. Something I wore perfectly week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago will not fit, will not look right, will not be what I expected it to be, and I'll have a slew of clothes all over this bed trying to figure out what
That
to
you
wear.
now have to put away.
That's now
and
a new
it-
to-do.
yeah, right, it's a new to-do. Thank you, Ebony. Ain't that something?
That's something you just add it to.
Now I got to find a hanger it went on. I don't know where the hanger went. You get what I'm saying? It's all over the place.
It's true.
And it yes, but if you sit
It's
there
true.
and it's funny how the night before I'll figure it out way quicker and faster than the day. And it's because it's that spirit of hurry
Yes.
that's on you. Ooh, and it's just so stressful.
You forget stuff.
You get hot and you start then now you can't put on your makeup
hot.
because you're sweating. And I know I'm saying something. I know I am. I know. And then
The
down
online
clothes-
audience
now
saying
you
you
gotta,
preaching,
now-
you
yes. And somebody
You
said,
no, you preaching. Keep it real. That's what they said. Keep it real.
That's
Now
why
I
people's
can-
lashes be hanging off.
Yes,
Because you had to put it on while you was sweating.
yes,
Trying to
you
do
are
stuff in the car
hot,
while you
steady.
driving.
So I'm
and-
saying that whatever it is that creates that hurry,
Yeah.
eliminate it.
Yes.
Because it really does. Whatever actions you do to get in tune with the Holy Spirit and get the mind of Christ and all of that
Yeah.
can get sucked out because you were ill prepared for your day.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get in your car and drive off, you figured out the kids ain't got no lunch.
Yeah.
You ain't got the keys. You get what I'm saying?
done figured
Your
it out.
coffee is actually milk. You trying to figure out what to do. I'm telling you, it all happened. And you try to figure out now how to salvage your day. And you started it off so wonderfully. But you have got to figure out, we all do.
Yeah, you start
How
off,
to-
Lord,
yeah.
I thank you, Lord.
Oh, thank you, Lord. Hallelujah.
And then by the
And
time you get to work, you're like, get out of my way.
You in the line get out.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yelling
just-
that car. You
Yes.
didn't develop road races you didn't have
Yes.
before.
And then let me say this. My stress then becomes my kid's stress.
Oh my goodness.
Even with getting
Or
them
anybody-
to
yes.
school, and that's really where then I have to fight off guilt because
they're like,
now
"Why you
I
yelling at me?
stressed
I didn't
them
do
out
it."
trying to get to school. You get what I'm saying? So I
Yes.
really have to, even just in everything, the hurry. I know they got a project coming up, and I'm the one that waits to the last minute to start
Yeah.
it. You get what I'm saying? And I'm hollering at them because they ain't
Listen.
gluing right and all of this other kind of stuff. Cut on the line, man. And I mean, you know what I'm saying? And it
Cut
just
on the
gets
line.
bad. So
No,
you just
it's-
you really
baby.
have,
Right?
I'm saying I've really had to
Oh, I
work on that.
understand.
I have because your day and how you start your day then trickles down to your kids.
Yes, it does.
It goes on to my husband. You get
Yes,
what I'm
it
saying?
does.
Because we'll have arguments if I'm stressing and he's stressing, and it just is not. It's not cool. we have to, and I'm saying we because I definitely have to work on that too.
Yeah.
Figure out ways to eliminate the hurry.
I
And
know
really, you do that by just taking the time to plan ahead. It's
Yes.
not fun.
Yeah.
It's not sexy. It might take you 3 hours the first time you do it, but you'll get good at it. And just making the lunch at night.
Yeah.
Making their lunches at night.
Yeah.
Writing out the menu for the week.
Yeah.
So that I know when I go to the
That
grocery
helped me so
store.
much.
This is what.
Like,
Ooh,
you know what I'm
meal
saying? And a
prepping.
contingency plan.
Yeah.
If I feel like, because I know I have a
Yep.
plan for food, and it's like these same 2 days I just be like praying, Lee be like, baby, you want to go out to eat? Yes! Yes! You know what I mean? Like, you figure it out. You figure out what works for you, just kind of having that stuff set out, or even the clothes set out for the week.
Yep.
I started doing that and just setting Luke's stuff out, several days ahead, and I just be kind of feeling like, what I do when I'm going into that mode is I put some music in my ear, put my phone in my back pocket, and I be over there getting it done. And then I noticed that it made me sexier to my husband, which is always a bonus. He's like, my wife always got taking care of me. I packed his lunch the night before, and he's about to go out, and it's a big one. I bought me a little lunch pail, and he all into this army stuff now, so I bought him an army designed lunch pail, and then he opened it up, and it was like this little thing, and it had all these, it had his starch and his protein. That's not me, but I decided, I have the mind of Christ.
Yeah.
I'm a woman of God. I can do this thing.
You can do it.
And so I did it. And when I opened that up and I zipped it, I put his little soda in the side of the bag. And
that's all
all that
right
stuff. And I
now.
said, here you go. And then he clipped it to his backpack. He said, yeah, babe. I was like, yeah, babe.
Yes.
It made me feel great. And
That's
it was a blessing
good.
to him.
Yes.
And all because I started,
And you had a plan.
Yeah.
I had a plan.
All you had to do was execute.
That's
And
all
then
you
when
had
you
to
start
do.
thinking like that, then you be
Yes.
looking for other people who think like that.
Yes.
Because, I don't know who said it, but they were like, if you want to see where you're going to be in the next 5 years, look at the closest five
Yes.
people that you spend your time with. And spending your time with, maybe you're just like, I'm just surrounded by a bunch of duds. Listen, I just spent days with Jordan Raynor by reading his book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And even when it comes down to, and again, I'm going to go back to this like small chunks thing, even looking at the size of this book, I was like, I ain't got time for this. I'm reading 4 books at the same time. Well, I scheduled that out.
Yeah.
If I read 10 minutes a day over the next month, I would have been able to knock out a certain amount of pages. It's just so much value in that.
It is.
Now, we have to go to this before we end.
Okay.
And he ended with it. The dark side,
of
discipline. And I think that's important because one day you could have the lunch all planned out in the
Beautiful.
compartments, and the next one he could come looking for you and be like, yeah, babe, Jimmy
What'd you do
John's."
before you met me?
Right? How did you take care of
you- how
yourself
did you handle
before
it?
you got? Yes, man.
Yes.
So, but in those moments, he was talking about discipline being an idol and how you can make it one. Number one is when you look down on somebody who doesn't look as disciplined as you are. And you can look at them and be like, I don't know, how come you ain't got your priorities straight? Come on now. You didn't have yours straight at some point. Probably didn't yesterday.
It probably ain't as good as you think it is
Come on.
now.
So, and then the other one is when you are hard on yourself and you're not able to let it go and actually just and those are times where he can get you into this vicious cycle of you've preached about it before. We got a book about it in a minute. Self-sabotage, where you can just mess your own self up.
Yes.
Because now you're internalizing this anger on yourself for not meeting your own expectations. Where really, it's not really about that. It's about, okay, so you messed up, I messed up, my bad. Keep it
going.
moving. Come on now.
You're not doing this to convince God to love you.
Yeah,
He
not
loves
at all.
you now
Say
more
it.
whether or not you do
Yes.
this
Say
or
that.
not.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're doing this to redeem your time and make
Yeah.
the most of what he's given you.
Yes.
Right.
And
It's
he
two
said
different
it in a
views.
different way. And we talked about it. He says that God doesn't need you to be productive. And there's a balance to that. Of course, he needs you to do what he's called you to do because there's lives at
expects you
stake,
to- right.
Yeah.
But
What are you
at the
doing?
same
What are you giving
time, it is not, your being productive is not, like you said, going to change his love for you. So if you miss one point and you're going to bed at night and it's on your mind, I didn't get to that, let that go. He
Yes.
wants you to have sweet sleep. Get up the next morning, spend time with the one that created time and figure out, okay, now let's reprioritize my priorities and see what I do now.
It's a
So
part
I
of your
think that's
health.
really important.
It's a big part of your health.
Learning to show yourself grace.
Yes, very good.
Because if you don't know how to show yourself grace, you probably don't show it to anybody else in your life.
Very
It
good.
make you hard to be around.
That's right.
Very good.
Okay, we 2 minutes out.
Oh,
Yeah, we 2 minutes out. Okay, so then I need to then thank everyone for coming up
Yay,
and
thank
showing
you.
love and appreciating
And the online
the book
audience
club,
there.
the online
Yeah,
audience. Y'all
thank
was just
y'all.
chatting it up. Appreciate y'all.
They were.
And I do want to invite everyone to get in on our next book club
Hey!
read that starts on June 7th. It is called Lessons from Eve. Overcome self-sabotage, take control of your life, and keep your crown. And it is by none other than Michelle Ferguson. Woo!
Get it done, get it done, get it
Okay,
done.
don't make this any more awkward. Than
No.
I should have got up when you talking about my book.
Well, we're super excited.
Yes, we are.
We've heard snippets of this. You've ministered
amazing.
from it during the women's conference, but to actually sit down and read the book, I am absolutely thrilled about it. For those of you who want to join this book club book reading that we have, it starts June 7th. Go to lessonsfromeve.com to get your book.
Yeah, and you can go to it's on Barnes & Nobles and Amazon
Excellent.
and other places. The book launches on June the 6th.
Oh, I need tissue now. Yes, so get the book, Lessons from Eve. We start reading June 7th. Thank you so much for coming, Ebony, Pastor Michelle. Thank you so much.
Minister Davis.
I know, Minister Davis.
And our book club discussion for this will be on July 15th, and we're going to do it in front of a live audience. All that information will be coming out soon. Make sure you go to godsbeauties.com for all of your book club and general women's ministry information. Thank you all so much, and God bless you.
God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Mwah.